Hey, beautiful soul. Before we jump into the episode, I want to know, did you know that I have a completely free virtual new moon circle called Co-Create every single month? This stemmed out of a constant request for a space or a church that taught so many different spiritual modalities, tools, systems, beliefs, and I didn't have any place to send them. So I created it. In Co-Create, this is the space that I want to bring to you to learn how to create a connection to yourself, your energetics, and the divine in a community that won't make you feel like a weirdo. A space where you can ask any question you want, where we get to dive into so many systems and beliefs and tools, and you get to pick and choose what feels good for you. So you can learn what it means to truly co-create with the universe, God, source, for flow, trust, and surrender, to connect with other women who are spiritually curious in a space that's safe, sacred, and inspirational. It's your space for you to find your people and lean into new spiritual practices to truly co create with the universe or God or source or whoever you feel connected to. You'll gain tools and knowledge to understand what it really means to lean into the universal laws and become magnetic, all while being held by massive feminine energy. I've been hosting these free new moon circles for almost a year now, and it's definitely one of my most sacred spaces, and it's completely free for you every single month. Diana said that she made a promise to herself that she would work on her personal development and growth journey earlier in 2024. So I reached out to her and asked her for a testimonial to share with us. And what she said was Adriana's membership community and Co-Create has accelerated that and more. I have had multiple breakthroughs from finding a new career path, improving my mental health by reducing my anxiety and depression through journaling, meditation, and breath work, improving my physical health, doing walking meditations are my jam, strengthening my marriage and relationships, improving my money mindset, and just setting up a routine that complements my design. I've learned to embrace challenges as a sign of growth. I will continuously do my best to be in harmony with myself, with this world, and the universe. I have never felt so seen, heard, safe, and supported. Her community and Co-Create has helped me connect to my true authentic self, to move with grace and intention, to embrace everyone's uniqueness. And we each have a special gift and are collectively part of this world to show and share it this way. Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing all of your reflections and how Co-Create and my community has changed your life. And now I want to share it with everyone else. The link to register is in the show notes below. Even if you register for 1 month, you will automatically be signed up to be able to join every single month for as long as you're on the list. So you don't have to repeat it every month. You will always get on the list. You will always have the Zoom link available. I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Now enjoy the episode. Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Okay, you guys, I am so stoked to bring one of my favorite people onto the podcast. Is this your first time actually airing an episode on the podcast?
No, we did one about my reflector design like
Oh.
almost 2 years ago, I
Oh,
think.
so back when you were in TUE, probably, or right around that time.
Yeah, I think close to it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, some of you who've been around for a minute probably know this beautiful guest that I have. And if you don't, you're about to get to know her, and you're going to know her even more within the coming weeks because then you're also on the Reflector panel that we have coming out. So, you've just been in my world for a while now. I'd love for you to take a second to introduce yourself, let them know who you are, your human design, your I was going to say your astrology, but you're like, I don't fucking remember.
I wrote it down yesterday. It's literally right here next to
Perfect.
me.
All right.
Oh, yes. And I feel so grateful that I've been in your space so much lately. And I will be at Co-Create tonight too, because you were just in one of my favorite spaces to be. I am Gabs Hayes. I am a mom of three. I'm married to my absolute favorite human being in the entire world, but it has been hell to be able to say that after 20 years. I'm finally there. And I am a entrepreneurial parent who runs a community for parents who are entrepreneurs because I got tired of being told the village was coming and it never did. And so I'm just building it my damn self. And I am a 4-6 reflector, and I don't know. See, I don't even know how you introduce the
I
astrology pieces,
am.
but I am a Libra sun, a Cancer moon, and a Scorpio rising.
Love it. That's probably also why we connect extra. Well, we're both 4-6, but also the Scorpio energy. My moon's in Scorpio, and we just love to go deep. We're like, we can't have shallow conversations. We're like, tell me all your deepest traumas.
Yeah, I just remember I was like working with a new client recently, and I said to her, she has a son, and she would always just call him son. Like he never had a name, and she would never like share pictures. And I just don't do life that way. Like I want to know about you, and I want to know about your kids, and I want to know what's
Mhm.
going on. And so I remember the moment that she told me his name, and she sent me a picture of him, and I text her back, and I was like, I just need you to know that is the greatest joy of working with parents is I actually get to know what's going on in your life, not because I'm nosy or like anything like that, but because I know how intertwined it is. And I just want to be able to support all of you.
Yeah, we just want those walls to break down. I mean, that's very line four of us too, right? We just want to break down the walls and create the community. That's why we create our own villages, because that's what we're supposed to do. I love that. And so I met you. Well, I mean, we were in a networking group together, but I really met you when you enrolled in the unicorn experiment. We hadn't really chatted before that, right?
Right. You did a workshop all about human design leading into the unicorn experiment. And I have a really awful memory, y'all, but I remember this workshop so deeply. And I think it was because it was like the moment my life changed. And I went to this workshop about human design. I was pretty curious. I was very early on in my like self discovery, getting my life together journey. And so I'm in this workshop. Somehow I missed the email that I was supposed to go pull a chart. So I'm listening to Adriana go over all the, generators and projectors and all these things, and then the like all the profile lines. And I'm taking notes and I'm like, okay, I'm circling. Yep, that's the one I am. And yep, that's the one I am. And then you like got to the end and you said something about a chart. And I'm like, what is she talking about? A chart. And so then I go pull my chart. And surely enough, nothing I circled was right. But also it was like I finally got to figure out who I was because everything I needed to really know was in that chart.
I don't think you ever told me that. That is so
No.
funny. And I think I'm pretty positive this was also during the workshop. Weren't you currently on one of your sabbaticals during the workshop? I
I
remember
was.
you because of that. You were like on a weeks long away from your family and kids sabbatical for your own mental health. And I remember that so vividly. Um, so, for anyone listening who doesn't know, I used to run a human design for business course called the Unicorn Experiment. And the reason I pulled it was because I felt like I had there. Well, actually, this circles right back to what we were just talking about. I wanted more depth with you guys. Like, you obviously got a fuck ton out of it. And I'm so grateful that you're still in my world because I get to see you continue with like everything that you learn. But there was like the show up rate wasn't the highest, and I feel like it just needed to be, I wanted to save all of that for the people who were really committed, and I wanted to really go deep with entrepreneurs, and that felt too high level for me. Scorpio moon with the 59th gate, which is literally all about going deep with people. So I pulled it. I haven't run it for I think maybe 18 months or so now. And now I'm starting to feel that sacral fire for like, I want to be working with entrepreneurs. I want to teach them how I've been doing what I've been doing because people keep looking at my stuff and they're like, this is so inspirational. Like, you're just getting these things left and right. And granted, it's not always that easy, but it's just making me realize how much I have to offer for the business side of things. And I just love entrepreneurs because we are so like, ambitious isn't even the right word. We're so in it for life. Like, we are a unique breed for sure.
Yeah. And I think, something I've really had to toy with, and I see it in my world and with my clients a lot too, is you can fake it in your career. You can fake it till you make it. You can check your personal life at the door. Like I remember being taught that early on in my corporate career. But you cannot do that with entrepreneurship. And I'm telling you that from direct personal experience, that the more and more I feel like I'm falling apart as a person, the more and more my business is falling apart. And look, that's usually when coaches or service providers, that's when they're usually telling you how great their world is online, is when they're actually completely falling apart because they're trying to tell themselves that it's going to be okay. I'm going to make it through this. And that I think is why, when I just kind of heard this inkling in you that you were going to bring this back, I was so fired up about it. And I was just like, tell me how I can help make it happen, because you cannot avoid who you are as a person and what that person needs to be their best self, and also think you're going to build this beautiful business that leaves an impact, that makes a ripple effect and changes the world around you. And so I can only say this from, you changed my business, you changed my life, you changed me by giving me this tool, and I'm continuing to use it 2+ years later. And there's a lot of things I've paid a lot of money for that I didn't
Why
look
are you
at again
crying?
past like 4 weeks, right? And so I'm so happy that you're doing this, because it's so easy to doubt ourselves when life feels hard, when business feels hard, when everything feels like an uphill battle. But you were meant to do this. And anyone who feels like their business is an uphill battle right now, I'm willing to bet you 99% of the time it's because you're disconnected from who you truly are. And this is the tool that worked for me to be able to find that person
Mm,
again.
You're already making me cry. Jesus, thank you for all those beautiful words. Thank you for sharing that for the person who's listening to this, feeling like it's an uphill battle. And that makes me want to ask you, like, where were you in your business before you joined the unicorn experiment? Like, what was it that made you be like, let me go check this workshop out and then eventually enroll?
Yeah. So, I think, let me give a little context here so just people can understand. I'm on to my second and third business at this point, but at that time I was still in my first business. I was a full-time tech consultant in my career, and I decided to just like build it myself, and I didn't need to run through another company to do that. And I did, and it was quote unquote successful by all societal definitions, except for the fact that I had zero intentionality behind it. And it actually is not what I'm meant to be doing. It's not what I was put on this earth to do. And so, right when I found you, I was on sabbatical, which means I was super, deep in reflection and thought, and am I where I'm supposed to be? And I don't remember the exact words or the messaging that made me decide to join the workshop, but I just remember being curious because I was so deep in this. I'm here and I'm running this business, but I don't feel connected to it and I don't feel aligned with it, but I didn't really know what that meant yet. And I definitely did not have the tools or the boundaries to say no to things that didn't feel aligned at that stage of my life. And then, we went through the workshop and I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is literally like a key. I think a lot of times I hate, but I also think entrepreneurs are looking for the thing that are going to make it
Hmm.
friendly, or the thing that's going to make your business successful. Listen to me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that human design is going to make you $1 million this year. Like, do not take that from this conversation, but do take that you're going to enjoy the ride a hell of a lot more and it's not going to feel as hard.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that's what it was like this immediate veil lifting from my eyes. And I thought, if I could feel that way in one 60-minute workshop, how would I feel spending, I don't know what it was, I think 12 weeks with you, and going deeper on myself and my business. Um, and I've gone on to write about the unicorn experiment in my book, and I've gone on to share it with as many people as I can, because it truly, truly changed how I show up in this world.
I love how you reflect back so many parts of me that like I forget. Like I forgot I have the book behind me, but I forgot about that. And now I'm like being reminded to go back and read it. Just reflectors are so magical. Yeah, I need to
I
read
will
it.
receive that.
So do you remember like your biggest aha moment during the unicorn experiment? What was it that started to really shift? Because it's one thing to be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's a whole nother beast to be like, yes, I'm done with this old version of me. This is who I am. This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So at that point, I do remember the unicorn experiment being the thing that opened the door for me to consider I could do something in business other than tech consulting.
Mm.
And at that point, I really didn't have any mentors or anyone in my life who was building a business out of passion and a business out of wanting to really like change the world around them. I had surrounded myself by these, highly successful agency owners who were just doing work. I mean, doing work that needs to be done. And I am not discrediting that at all. But I was not put on this earth to just do work that needs to be done. And I had built an entire career out of that. So I remember it being the thing that kind of kicked the door open for me. And it still took me 2 more years to walk through it and finally make that choice. And I'm happy to go down why I did if that makes sense for the audience. But um, the other thing, and it's what's in the book about the unicorn experiment, I remember one call in particular. And it was the first time that I realized I did not, excuse me, I did not have to do this life alone. Because I also thought business, and maybe it's because I'm a woman, maybe it's because I came from the tech world where it's like hustle, grind, do it as fast as you can. You have to be the only unicorn that has this only thing in the world. Um, I did all of it alone. I never asked for help, not in my personal life, but definitely not in business. And I don't know if you remember this call, but there was a day I was on another sabbatical during the unicorn experiment, but this time I was at a girlfriend's house. I was in her guest bedroom and taking our call, and I was in such a good mood. And I just thought, oh, I'm just so excited to be with my ladies today and be in your space, like I always say. And then we got on the call, and I don't remember, but like you asked me, how are you doing? And it was just like, I'm fucking falling apart and
I
I don't
do
know how I'm
remember
going to pay
that
my bills
now.
and I don't know how I'm going to take care of my kids and I don't. And it
Yep.
was like we took almost the entire call to work through that situation. And it was the first time that it was like, it was permission. Sorry. We've had so many technical
Tech
difficulties
error.
this week. I'm here. Um, it was that first permission that like people want to help you, but they have to be told how. And you have to, like you were saying, you have to let the wall down and let them in. And it was the first and only time, I'll be totally transparent. And I've spent a lot of money on coaching and service providers and help, but it was the only space I had been in where the service provider actually gave a shit about me and my business and what was going on in my life. And it wasn't about, this is the framework that works for me, so this is what you should be doing.
Again, reflecting back more things. I'm like, wow. I'm just like, I will. This is exactly what you're saying, is exactly why I wanted to create more of an intimate mastermind instead of just like an online course. I mean, granted, we did have live calls, yes. But everything that you're talking about, like I want you to be able to come to the table and be like, everything's falling apart or everything's great. And like you get that hand holding that you need in that moment, and everyone just sits and gives you their energy too, like there's something so powerful about that group energy. And I will say, for me in particular, it's always so interesting to like look at my chart and see all the different gates and qualities I have that really make such a good guide or coach, because I've gate 13, gate of the listener. Gate 39 is provocation. I'm going to poke you until I figure out what's wrong, until you tell me, till you let me in. Gate 59 lets me like go even deeper and break down those barriers and walls. And so it makes sense to me that like someone just shows up and they've held all their shit together and it for every other coach or every other group, and all of a sudden they spill everything. Like that's exactly what I was designed to do, is to be there to hold you in that space and to help you move through that. So thank you for reflecting that back. Now, how did this start to shift how you showed up for your business in the day to day?
Oh yeah. I think the biggest thing was, and then this will be really specific to my design type, but learning I was a reflector and you help guiding me through that and what that means in business also helped just change how I show up. So I need a lot of space. I need a lot of quiet time. I need a lot of disconnection. And at the time, I was either building a business that was completely ingrained in a team, much like, I mean, the vibe and feel of that is very much.
Uh-oh, we froze. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me. Mm-mm. Oh,
Okay.
okay, we're back.
I think we're back.
Okay. All right, let's back that up. Hold on. Your bars are red, they're yellow. Go wait, go wait, go wait. Yep, there we go. Okay, let's try this now. So you got
Okay.
cut off right at team. So let's just start that sentence over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So up until that point, I had been building a business model where I still, it still very much was like a career, a corporate career. I was still on a team. I was still supporting a team. I was still going to all of these meetings. And so while I had stepped into entrepreneurship, I hadn't stepped into what I thrived in. And so that's the biggest thing that I remember is, and again, like I said, it took me a couple years to really do it. So it's not a magic bullet by any means, but it was this unwarranted permission that you are actually meant to show up in this world different. And now you are allowed to go figure out how to build a business that allows you to show up that way. And so for me, that was completely blowing everything up and completely changing my business model, who I supported, the work I did. But it doesn't have to be that. It just was, that was what was right for my journey.
Mm. And how do you feel now versus how you felt then? Because when people think about like having to blow up their whole business, it's like something they might know they need to do, but they just can't get over that hump, you know? So like what's the difference between how you feel now and how you felt before you changed all of that?
Yeah. So again, part of my design type is I'm supposed to fully and totally lean into surrender and intuition. And that's really freaking hard. I mean, I have 3 kids at home. Even though we don't live this extravagant lifestyle, life is expensive having 3 kids in today's world. And when I finally shut down that first business and decided to fully and totally lean into what my gifts were, it meant I started over at zero. It meant our finances got real tight, shit got real hard. But I also have this peace and this calm. And anyone who has known me for more than a year or two will tell you or will tell me you're just different when I get on the phone with you now. Your energy is so peaceful and so calming. And I could literally be telling them about, I'm struggling to pay my bills this month, or I really, am trying to call in new clients this month because I really need to ramp it up. Or like when my husband got laid off, I could be telling them, my husband got laid off, not sure what we're going to do. And they're like, but you're so calm. And it's because literally every day I see angel numbers 3, 4, 5 times a day. And I literally stop and I say, thank you for the reminder to surrender and trust my intuition. And I have said that 3, 4, 5 times a day since January 1st of 2025. And I am an entirely different person. And my business
Mm.
is an entirely different business since the beginning of this year.
And you cannot put a price tag on that. And that is why I do not believe in like, make 6 figures with human design, do this with human design. And like, I'm not even going to tell you for 100% certainty that joining this mastermind is going to increase your revenue. You could backtrack before it increases. And would you say it's worth it?
Oh, for sure. And let me just tell you something. I would not be in your space if you were putting those kind of messages out in the world because it's bullshit and I
It's
don't
not
believe in it.
real.
It's
Yeah.
not real. Like
Yeah.
no coach, no service provider, no mentor, no accountability partner, nobody can actually control or predict what's going to happen in your business because it's about you and how are you showing up. And if you're forcing it or faking it, eventually that's going to catch up to you. And so, a huge part of my story, I think, to give powerful context here, is I kept that consulting firm open until I crossed the 7-figure revenue mark and until I crossed 5 years in business, because I was damned if I was going to be a woman who launched a business and it didn't work. Well, you know what actually happened? I literally tried to kill myself to get to that point. And so, yeah, I let a lot of money go. And I had friends and I had family, when I told them I was shutting it down, their very first question was like, well, what are you going to do for money? I don't know. Have you ever worried about what you're going to do for water? Have you ever worried about what you're going to do for air? Most of you probably not. My child, yes. And I've been on the side of figuring out how to get air in her body as well. So, like, I just, I was not willing to be beholden to what society says I should be wanting and I should be feeling, because I knew that that's not what I was supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And 1000%, like, listen, I don't have $5 million, but if I did, I would empty out my savings account to pay for the amount of peace and calm that I have in my life today.
Yes, I love that. That's what it's about. It's about actually enjoying life where we're at right now. That's what I'm teaching. That's what I preach. That's my church. Is like, how can you just love where you are right now and run into those struggles with ease? Like my car just blew up last week and it's only 5 years. Turns out there's like a whole recall happening. It's a big thing. But like it happened and I was like, huh, well, that sucks. But like, I guess we'll get a new car. Like the old me would have been like, blah, everything's awful. What are we gonna do? I'm like, okay, cool. I get a new car now, I guess. So that's nice. So just approaching things with so much more calm. It's really a grounded energy, grounded nervous system. And of course, that has an impact on our business because like when we're not spiraling, when we're not freaking out or panicking, then things are so much more smooth. And all of a sudden, oh, weird, all these magical things start happening in your life. It's all connected. That's the whole goal. What part of, you might have already touched on this, but what part of taking the unicorn experiment was, or the support felt the most impactful for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it was, for sure, like the permission. And I struggle a lot with that word. I actually used to have it in like my LinkedIn header that I was a professional permission giver, and I would get so much feedback, like positive feedback about it. But then I struggle because I'm like, nobody really needs permission. And that's what I ultimately want people to know in this world. Like, you don't need the permission, but we're humans and we need guidance and we need support and we need guardrails and we need people to encourage us to keep going. And so I think that was the thing. And, even this has been interesting. I mean, I recently had you come teach in my program about human design, and I was scared of that. I mean, not all of the ladies in that program were as woo woo as we are. And so I was like, okay, how are they going to receive this? But I didn't actually care because, one, they have a choice not to come to that call or not to show up. But two, I know the power it gives. And every last one of them said the same thing. I now have permission that I don't have to go do TikTok reels. I now have permission that I don't have to do 50 DMs a week to grow my business. Like, it was the same thing, that it just allowed us to double down on who we truly are and let go of the shit that doesn't work for you anyway, because it doesn't feel right in your body. Um, right before this, I literally got off of a call with a client, and she kept telling me she wanted to build a landing page for her new thing that she was doing. That was what she needed to move forward. And so I didn't agree, but I was like, look, you got to do what makes you feel confident, what's going to let you move forward. Go right ahead. So we meet every week. We get on the next week's call, and she's like, hey, I went to start building that landing page, and she was like, it literally did not feel good in my body. She was like, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, look, you had to take a couple steps that direction to realize it doesn't feel good, turn around. But if you didn't have someone in your corner to tell you it's okay to turn back around and go do the thing that actually just feel good, what would we keep doing? We'd keep building the landing page. We'd keep sending 50 DMs a week. We'd keep doing these things that don't actually work, and then be pissed off and frustrated and angry that you can't pay your bills, that you want to be making an impact, but you can't because you can't find clients. I mean, it all just becomes this compounding effect of like not taking care of yourself affects your business because you show up with so much frustration and anger.
Hmm. And we all have those like blinders on. That's why coaches or guides are so important. That's why even I always have a coach, almost always. Sometimes I wait for like the right person, but these are things that like we'll sit there and get stuck in this like, "Oh, well, I have to launch it this way because that's what I was taught." And like you're grinding even right now with the mastermind. I mean, you were helping me because I was like, I don't want to do like a full on like workshop kind of launch. I just want to talk about it and like let's see who comes in. And you're like, great, just do these things. I'm like, great, that feels great. So we're just kind of having fun with it along the way, but we can forget and we can just get in that like sit at the laptop, do all the launch emails, do the workshop. And that's the importance of having people in your corner who know what you're doing, who understand the energetics of it and how you are designed to do it. I had right before we hopped on here to record, I saw someone who was interested in the mastermind was asking if you have to be an entrepreneur already to join the mastermind. And I had this in my head. I knew this question was going to pop up because she's specifically for her, she's someone who wants to start a business but is not there yet. And I was like, is this mastermind going to be just strictly for entrepreneurs? And I know what my answer is going to be, but I'm super curious what you would say to that.
Fuck no. If I could have had this before I launched my business, I would have saved myself probably 3 years of pure and total heartbreak.
Yeah. And because it's all intertwined. It is
Mhm.
like, yes, we're talking about it for business and business context. Yes, we can talk strategy, energetics, sure. But it's literally about like who it's an unbecoming so that you can just completely shed the layers and show up in your whole life as this more aligned version of you. So that's exactly what I'm going to say to her is, first I'm going to ask her what it is she's really looking for right now. And then, yes, you don't have to be an entrepreneur even if you have no idea about making a business, but you're like, I just really want to like shed and be in this container. I'm like, come on in. Like it's not gonna hurt to not have a business at all. What would you say to someone who is considering joining the mastermind, considering human design for business, energetics for business, but is like super on the fence because of we're either in that magic bullet headspace of like, oh, this is the thing that's going to fix everything, or maybe they've been so wounded by masterminds and programs in the past.
Yeah. Um, so first thing I would say is like stop for a second, stop making decisions and check in with yourself. Whether it's Adriana's program or another course or sitting down to watch a YouTube video or go to another workshop. I mean, wherever you're going to invest your time as your greatest resource, stop and check with yourself. Why are you saying yes to that thing? Because it's not going to serve you, nor is it going to serve Adriana for you to join if you're thinking that this is a magic bullet, because it's not. And I say that by saying this changed my business, this changed my visibility, this changed me. And I had to do a lot of work, and I've continued to apply what I learned in my time for the following 3 years. So just know that, this is not an overnight thing. Um, for those that have been wounded, what I want to say to you is so have I. You are not alone. And I just want you to honor yourself that this time you're slowing down for a second and you're thinking about, why am I making this investment? And is it the right investment for where I am right now? I tell people all the time, can you successfully launch and run a business never having a mentor, never having a coach, never having support? Yes, you can. I will be the first person to tell you that. Is it going to be harder? For sure. Is it going to make you an angrier person? Most likely. But can you do it? Yes. And so, I think when you think about an investment, you are either going to invest your time by doing it all alone, or you're going to invest your money by bringing in support who can help remove some of the roadblocks and keep you on the right path. And so, what do you need the most right now, or what do you have the most of right now? And just knowing you're choosing one over the other. I think a lot of times people think they're just choosing, well, do I want to spend this money or do I want to do nothing? That's not the right way to look at status quo. You're choosing to keep spending your time, which is the only resource that you don't know how much you have of, that you cannot replenish, that doesn't come back to you. Money comes and goes. And so I say stop looking at it as a money decision, but just look at it as a which resource do you want to be spending right now decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you made me think of a really good point with sure, it's a 6 month mastermind, which is actually that's up for debate. It's like a beta. So at the end of 6 months, if everyone's like, dude, I want this to be a whole year, I'm probably just gonna extend it into a whole year. But you're making me think about how it's not just like a here and now framework that you can use for a couple years. This is like a foundation of who you are that you're going to take with you for the rest of your fucking life. And
Mhm.
I don't think you can put a price tag on that. I mean, you spent what, maybe 555, I don't even remember what I sold it for on that unicorn experiment course, and it has served you for years.
Mhm.
So, this is not like a get rich quick or follow this framework and then maybe in a couple years you're like, I'm bored of that, now I need to figure out a new framework. This is literally who you are, and that doesn't change. People ask me all the time, does your human design chart change? And the answer overall would be no. You're still going to be that person forever, so it's literally going to last you a literally freaking lifetime. Who would you think that this mastermind, now granted, anyone who's listening, I don't think I even said this in the beginning, you get the unicorn experiment course for just being in the mastermind. So this is why Gabs is here talking about it. We're going to be implementing all that stuff, but in a more high touch level. So who do you think that this mastermind would be perfect for right now?
I probably have a little bias here just because of my own experience,
Mm,
but I would say it is for the person who, you're either extremely entrepreneur curious, but you haven't taken the first step because you're scared, or you've taken the first few steps. You're probably a year or so into this thing, and you're just real disappointed that it still is hard and that it still is not flowing as easily and naturally as you hear everyone say it does. Um, and the other thing I would say is you need to have a really clear picture of what you actually want your life to look like, not your business, your life to look like. And then where does your business fit into that? Because that's going to allow you your own guidance and your own ability to check in with yourself and make sure you're applying what you learn and that you're using this space for what it is. And an example of that is when I, launched my consulting firm. I kept hearing, entrepreneurs have time freedom and they have money freedom and they have, all the damn freedoms in the world. Bullshit, they don't. But, you know, I kept thinking, well, if I just get this business successful enough, then I'll have time freedom. Or if I just get this business successful enough, then I'll have enough money to buy more time, or, all these like what ifs or could be's in my head. And the entire time I was building a business that was never going to give me time back. I was building a business where I was the only magic that could happen. So it was always going to take all of my effort, all of my hours, all of my everything. And so take a step back for a second and be like, wait, what do I actually want my life to look like? I absolutely want my life to look like my husband and I deciding on a Thursday we want to go to a concert in another state this weekend. So like we just go fucking do it because I don't have anything that's holding me back from doing that. And I had not yet built a business to align with that until now. And so you need to be clear on that so that way you can maximize what you have here. And so, that's one of those, I think it's inside of your gut, I'm enjoying being an entrepreneur, but it's hard and it's not actually getting me any closer to the life that I thought I was going to get here. It's time to make some changes. And this is the space where you'll be able to do that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole time freedom thing. Yeah, it's funny because you become an entrepreneur and then all of a sudden you're the marketing and the sales and the tech and all the things. And that's not forever. That is not forever. But there is a little bit of extra time we need to put into it to get things off the ground running. This is a bonus question that ChatGPT came up with, and I am I totally love this question. What's your favorite way to describe what it's like to work with me? No pressure.
Oh, I already made you cry once, damn it. Um, Here's what I will say is I no longer look at you as a coach. I look at you as a
Oh, are
I
you
can't
gonna cry now?
I can't look at you and say these words. I have to like look out at the corner. Um, if you're not watching us on video, we are like looking at each other. It's like when your mom is crying and you look at her and then you start crying. Um, I consider you a dear friend. And I feel like I owe so much to you. I tell people all the time, entrepreneurship allowed me to be the mom that I wanted to be. And I was already 10 years into the mother, or almost 10 years into the motherhood journey before I stepped into entrepreneurship. And I feel like my kids lost a lot by me not knowing who I was. And you have been a huge part of that. And I have it here. Like, I already have the newsletter I'm going to send to announce this episode. Because when you asked me to do it, I just had this immediate, I knew what it was going to feel like for someone else to step into this space. And it's opened the door to me finding other people who are also into human design, who aren't even connected to you necessarily, but just the fact that I have that knowledge about myself, I've been able to find other people who want that knowledge about themselves. And I have healed a lot of really deep motherhood wounds because of it. And that never would have happened if I didn't say yes to stepping into your space. And while I'm not in a paid space with you anymore, I am still always, every time co-create is there, I'm seeing what can I move around, because I know I'm going to get something from being in the room with you again. Or every time you ask me to hop on the podcast, I'm like, yeah, I'm here for it. Let's do it. It's just, and we have a little group chat, that we keep in touch with each other on too. And I think you said it perfect that, like, whatever this program is going to be called is not just for the 6-month container or the 12-month container or the 2 calls a week that you show up live to. This is the beginning of changing how you show up in your life. And if you have loved ones who you are choosing to build this for, and they are your why, you're changing their life too. And you can't put a price on that. You can't.
That one really got me. That last one. Because oh man, I just feel so honored to have someone who has such unique gifts as a reflector being in my space to literally show me, because you're saying things that I don't even think about when it comes to talking about what I can offer to people. Like how you parent your kids. That's going to change. It's going to change for the better. How you show up in your marriage or your relationships or your friendships, all of that is going to change. It's never just about the business. And I feel like my perspective, anyone who's just trying to focus on solely the business aspect of things is completely missing everything, everything. And that's where we end up in such struggle. And we have the money and then we're hating our lives. Like what the fuck is the point of that? And so every time I hear you talk about like the way you parent now, especially like with your own reflector daughter and all of that, it is honestly, that's really what I'm doing it for. That's being present. Here I go. I'm gonna cry. Damn it. It is literally like I chose to have 3 kids, and I will not spend my whole life busting my ass to build a business and then miss out on like the fact that I have 3 kids. Like that's not what this is about. So thank you for reflecting back that whole aspect to me, because it's something that I forget to talk about, but it's probably the most important to me.
Yeah. And there's also, this was just coming through as you were talking. There was another call in the unicorn experiment. I think it was like I had a one-on-one call with you inside of the program. And I learned so much about myself so fast. And I was changing so rapidly at that time. I remember crying to you because my husband and I are high school sweethearts. We've grown up together. We've done life together. And I remember saying to you, I'm afraid I'm going to outgrow my husband, or I'm going to change so much that he doesn't know who I am, or I don't know what our relationship is anymore. And point blank, you looked at me and you said, you have to be okay with that. And my marriage is so different now than it was then. And I actually tell people all the time, I probably would not choose to get married again, but I would choose my husband as my life partner over and over and over again, because I have been able to build a partnership with him now that I know who I am and what I need and how I need to communicate that. But also, that statement plays over in my head over and over and over again. And I love that I get to hear it in your voice, Because every time I'm choosing to end a partnership from a working perspective, or I'm choosing to end a family relationship that I held on to for too long, or, cutting ties with a client, whatever it may be, I hear in the back of my mind, and you have to be okay with that. And that, again, is another permission that it gave me to just, I'm not holding on to shit that doesn't serve me anymore. And sometimes that's going to be hard. Sometimes that's going to be scary. Sometimes it's going to be the thing that feels like it breaks me. And every time it does, something better comes on the other side. And so I've learned to be okay with that versus being fearful of being okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that and being so open and vulnerable because that's something that I probably told you this in that call. That's something that I have a fear of too, is like the outgrowing of the marriage. But people like you and I, we're here to fulfill our soul's purpose. And if that's the mission that we have to take on in order to continue to do the work that we're here to do, then, you and I have come to a point where like we're okay with that. It's always this or something better. It doesn't make it easy, but like we've built this trust. We trust in this divine, whatever it is, universe, God, source, and we trust in who we've come to understand as ourselves so deeply, which this was all built through the work that we've done and continue to do. And I don't think you just can't put a price tag on that self-trust. Not at all.
No, but damn it, you got to put your money where your heart is, or else you don't show up for it. So there's that part too.
Truth. Truth. Thank you so much for sharing. So, not just being like for being here and doing the recording, but you share so vulnerably. Like you share all the real shit. This is the kind of stuff that I want people to understand about how this actually works, how what it looks like to really decondition and to be your truest self. It's not always easy, but the magic that happens when you choose to step into this it is so fucking worth it. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you feel like you want someone listening to know?
I just want to say my door's open. If you're listening to this and you're still on the fence, you're still like, I'm just not sure. Um, I am raw, I am vulnerable, and I tell it like it is. That is my design. And you'll see that in all of my content messaging. So, I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to DM me at any point if you just have questions or you just want, an extra set of support while you're trying to decide what decision is next for you. But the biggest thing I will leave you with is like, just please don't do this life alone. And whether that's in this program right now, or maybe right now is not the right fit, but either way, like find your people and don't do this life alone.
Agreed. And thank you for offering your support to someone trying to make the decision. Because I know when they reach out to the person who's offering the offer, they can be very afraid that like I might not say no, this isn't for you just to make sales, right? But like Gabs is totally unbiased. She's not getting anything from telling you to go talk to her, and she will tell you if it's not a good fit, 100%. So thank you for offering that for them. We'll put all Gab's information in the show notes so you guys can go follow her, reach out to her if you want to, even just to say hi, build your reflector community, all the things. Thank you so, so much for being here. I love you and I appreciate you for taking this time.
I love you so big, boo.